things off with talking about internship and maybe John Michael starting in and how maybe this influenced him, maybe not. That he could talk about what he thinks about the project, how he's grown. And he doesn't know what plans we have in store for him, but you know, we have great hope with our young people. So anyway, Sonny, you want to start?
It was 2012 when I was it was after Mom passed away. I remember her being her garden with Grandma. They had a little guy out north of there at Coal Creek by skiing, and we'd go out there and they would harvest that corn. And I think it was blue corn. I think it said blue out there pretty well. And I'm sure everybody else had their plots on there. And been up there a few times in Nebraska, and it was that probably in May, I believe it was. I was driving back on the Interstate 35 going north, and way out in the distance, you see the thunder and lightning. And I thought about it going up there. And I don't know, I must have answered my prayers, because when I got home, there was a phone call from Debbie, and she said, "You want to go to Nebraska?" Didn't hesitate. I said, "Yeah." And I said, "What's it for?" She talked about the seed program. This was all new. Had no idea. So I said, "Yeah." And so she said, "Well, you know, he's going up there." And she mentioned that Michael never met him. And so got up there and we met Ron. And so she told us what was going on. We had the seed. She pretty much everything laid out. So that's what we did when we had the seed to the ground. And she watched us and after this is what you do. And so I guess you used to experiment at the same time too, trying to put water irrigate. She had all kind of little hoses out there. And little, I don't know, like little irrigation kits out there. And it was kind of like, what should you do? You know, overseeing this and stuff. She wanted it to be successful. So we were there for about 4 weeks or so. And so it was put them in here, and it didn't take very long. And after those 4 weeks, I think another group came in, and 4 weeks after that, another group came in for the actual harvest. That was 2012, and then over the period of time, Dad would always talk about corn. And I didn't live in town, but I always had wanted to get over here to help. Last year was probably, somebody said, maybe we'll call him. Because I didn't live back here again. And then, I don't know, maybe a week, I need to live here again. One thing led to another, so I'm not back into the project again. So that's where I'm at now. And this year, we got things ready, and anticipating what's next. So that's what I'm glad you guys are here to see all this, because we need to bring all this back. I always think this corn is a living history, and we're actually eating what it holds in. So that's our past. What they ate, I can want to say that here.
Hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Michael Knight, and like Sonny said and Deb said, I got to be a part of this project. I believe Deb and her family, Roger and Walter, got a hold of Eagle Corn, right? And you guys were growing in Colorado. And so you guys were making efforts, individual efforts, or I guess a group effort as a family. And he kept up with it, and so here we are today. I mean, got a lot of help, you know, Pawnee, O'Brien, and other farmers from Nebraska, our ancestral homelands. And I guess if I look back on it, man, I'm very thankful for it. I mean, so much ties in with our traditional foods, ties in with our culture, for sure our history, and like Sonny had said, you know, he's excited about our future with this. It can only be good for the Pawnee people and other people as well, you know. I met our Mexican friend here, and she was telling me about her work with the Pawnee Nation College, and how you guys went to Mexico. I had seen some posts on social media, and so there's just this big, I guess, like, you know, analogy to gardens growing. You know, it's spreading. You know, and there's progress being made to revitalize this food that maintains our people and our culture, not just agriculture, our religions, our connection with God and with each other, brings us together right today. And so I'm too excited about it. Ronnie was kind of telling me about the display right there, that middle table, the stuff on it, the data that people have collected. It's just amazing to see how many people have stepped up and have been a part of this, and want to see it grow. I know it's hard work. Gardening is definitely tough work. Mika was just telling me about her experience, and I don't think she'd mind me sharing this, maybe she shared it with you before, but she said that she saw her mother failing scenes whenever she took care of her plants. And so she followed that example while she was in Nebraska. And that was good to hear, and it just kind of dawned on me, like, as we were talking, and I brought it up, I told her, I was like, you know, I've come across some stuff online, you know, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but they cite studies about plants benefiting from music. So singing is like music. And I was thinking, like, maybe that was a big part of the success of our planting and harvest. You know, there's, from what I've been reading, the population of women was greater than the men. And they did, majority of all that work in the garden. So I can imagine that the fields were pretty close to the towns, and so there's dances there, singing there, and if that train of thought is true, where plants benefit from music, then maybe it was definitely the right way to go about Mika's internship, I guess you could say, when she was up there. She said every time she went to a different garden site, she would sing a song. And so I thought that was great. Also looking at other Pawnee texts about our agriculture and just our history, our culture in general, it's all tied in together. There's a lot of songs that are documented about planting and harvesting, and not only that, but a lot of our ceremonial songs are in there, and it's kind of, even then it's kind of tough to, I guess, decipher which is the ceremonial versus which is not, because everything was tied in with God, like I was saying. Like, it seems like everything was just connected, and that was kind of what Mika was touching on. She said it was spiritual for her, it was healing for her, and she felt like it was like remembering. And I definitely identified with that whenever I was a part of it. I think it was 2011 and 2012, maybe 2012 and 2013, where I got to do 2 internships back to back, and I didn't know what to expect, but man, I gained a lot. I did reading while I was there. I had encouragement. I got to, like Mika, I had an example to follow. I've seen Ronnie working hard. I've seen all the different ones up there who were non-Pawnee helping our tribe, and more or less, they basically became our family. They're still here and they're helping our tribe, and it's pretty cool that they've dedicated their time to do this. So I guess I'll touch on another thing. I don't know if I'm talking about here, but after those internships, I eventually went to Fort Lewis College, and I got to use that as my senior seminar paper. And I was so glad that I did those internships, more than just what I said just before I started talking about this. But it helped me graduate, and I was like, oh man, I'm so glad I got to use this, and I'm so glad that Deb had me document it, because I was able just to cite all of that. And so I was just so grateful that I was able to not only get education of my people, my history, but also I could benefit in the non-Indian world by getting a degree with it. So it shows that we can still use our past for the present and for the future. And so thanks for giving me a little bit of your time. And we're excited to hear the presentation. So yeah.
Oh, the internships. Where would you do with like the internships? You're not very far. At first, when we were growing corn in Nebraska, and we would bring it here, or Dad would come get it sometimes, it just felt wrong that we would be growing corn that didn't belong to us and saying, here's corn, which was wonderful, the Pawnee were wonderful, but to be able to have young Pawnee people, or old Pawnee people, anyone Pawnee come up and themselves be involved, because Pawnee grew for hundreds and hundreds of years, not us, not the garden, today on the house. So to be able to have the Pawnee there, I can't even describe the difference in what the project felt like and became. Because that's when it really took on meaning. For me, was when the people it belonged to became involved. And each one in their own way, the interns that we had their own personal touches that they brought to it. Whether it was Michael's quietness, that all by itself was amazing. And to just see him with the corn and at one with the corn without even having to say anything. It was pretty amazing. When Sunday came up, I thought, oh, this is an intern. I was thinking, college. I'm thinking college age when I think interns. And then Sunday came up and it was great because I had someone my age to discuss it with. And they were also teaching the public about their heritage, which was really neat when they were there. And the other interns who came up that first summer, and then Michael came back the second summer. I did a lot of myself. And then when we moved the project to Central Community College, because I moved to Central Community College, and for several years we didn't have interns. Because we just didn't really have a place for them to stay and to come up, and it didn't feel the same again. And then when we had the opportunity to have interns come here a couple of years ago, we kind of came for the second time. Elected had been there before, and then that tweet Kahita too. Those three came up the same summer, and to see left to have the connection with Marlene and Mia, and just knowledge that about how I was learning how to do things. I really liked it, which was really, really great. And then Mikai, I'm so glad you hear Mikai. Mikai loved the corn so much. I've never seen anything like it. Mikai fell in love with that corn. And it was it even a barrier? Maybe how tall? Just had popped up. And she loved to water the corn and to be with the corn. Well, it was white corn, and white corn does not like to be watered much. So she watered it and watered it and watered it and watered it, and I couldn't tell her no, because I could tell she was so connected with that corn, she just couldn't. And then finally, when it wasn't pollinating, I said, you could better back off. I let it full grown and everything because I couldn't stop her. Why would I stop that connection? You know, she had a connection, unlike I can now. Unlike I can possibly now. With the corn, which was really cool. And then to have people to come who has grew up all over the United States and really not been here in Pawnee, and to get involved in this project and to see her grow, with knowledge of not only the corn but her culture, and Kahita that honestly works circles around me. But when it comes to documenting, because I'm very slow at things like that, and she was the person we needed when it comes to that. Now that we're collecting data and we're recording data, I could not do what he was doing. So it's amazing how the people who come forward are the right people in their own way to really make this a Pawnee project, a true Pawnee project. So the internships have done that, unlike anything else. Otherwise, for gardeners in Nebraska, yes, we love what we do, we love Pawnee. No, we're not Pawnee. It's just not the same. You can't ever replace that. So this is your corn, and you're growing it and helping us with it. So I wouldn't have it in their way. I hope we can continue these internships every year because it's needed. The corn needs you, and you need the corn, and you learn from each other. And that's what it's going to take.
So the internship for me was a prayer that I made. It was an offering that I made with tobacco. So I was like, how am I going to do this? Because I have 3 children at home. I'm a single mother. Well, not anymore, but at the time I was a single mother. So it literally was a prayer. And I'm like, if this is meant to be, then I will be in Nebraska. And it just fell into place. I didn't have a vehicle. So Alexa's like, you can ride with me, and I'm like, okay. And so, I grew up with Electa. I had no idea what I was doing. I had seen things on Facebook that posting, about the ski project, and I was like, I always want to get over there, but I just didn't have the time at the time. And then one day, I was like, I'm going to go to the ski lesson. And so, I was up super early, which is seeing Electa that one was here. And we did the seed blessing. Later on, Monte came over and he started working on this elder garden. And we were telling Sunny the other day, I was like, that elder garden did not look like that when we were working on it. We had hoes, we were like out there, with our hands, just old way, trying to get that garden ready, pulling out the Johnson grass and just getting that stuff ready. So that's where it started from, was with that prayer from that seed blessing that day. And then later on, the internship came about. And I was going to be starting my last year of college, and I needed an internship. But I still had 2 semesters to go before that was even possible. But I contacted Bacone and asked them, could I do my internship early if I was on this internship? And they actually approved me to do my internship early. So just like John Michael said, this project helped me be able to obtain my bachelor's degree in American Indian Studies. And I also used it for my senior tax presentation. So, but for me, it was very spiritual. It was very healing. You know, as a recovering addict, I needed that. And it was just the connection of actually being in Nebraska, knowing that there were already prayers there laid down for us a long, long time ago, you know. So just that, and then just things that I grew up with, knowing about singing and about prayer, about offering, making that offering of tobacco. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like, what am I doing? I don't even know anything about corn. They're like, you guys are going to be taking data, you know, and me and Electa are sitting there like, we don't even know any corn anatomy. You know, so they're just like, they're like, we got to measure this. So, you know, it was a whole new learning experience for us both, you know, but I was like, I know about prayer, I know about song, I know about making that offering, so here we go, you know. So we went on this journey and it was amazing. It was very healing, and I got a lot of healing out of it for myself, and it reconnected me. And I like to look at working with the Seed Project as remembering. It's not about teaching, or it's not about learning. It's about remembering, because that's already there in our DNA. It's already there. Those songs are there. Those prayers are there. That healing is there. That prevention is there for our youth. So when I work with this project, I think about all of those things, and I'm really grateful. You know, I'm grateful for the guidance that I got with Ronnie, just the sistership I developed with Electa, with Kahita, because after Electa left Kahita, little car went all over Nebraska with me and her in it. I mean, we did so much traveling, you know, it was crazy, but it was just so amazing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's a holistic work, and it's a holistic wellness. So it's touching your body and your mind and your spirit when you're working with these seeds. So, and I just want, you know, people that you can to experience that. You know, it's our creation story. You know, it's our song. It's our beginning prayer of who we are as people. And I'm really grateful to be able to experience that, and to now be sharing that with my daughter, and trying to share that with, you know, other girls, that they can become more involved, that we can have, you know, more gardens here, but, you know, we still have our gardens at home. You know, maybe have some of our younger girls go up there, you know, thinking outside of the box that we've already had around us. So I'm really grateful, and just a real funny story real quick. So like I said, me and Alexa didn't know anything about corn anatomy. We meet with, was it Dr. Hogemeyer? Is that, yeah, Dr. Hogemeyer. So he's like this, I guess, corn king that does all this data work, you know, around corn. So he like made these spreadsheets for us to do the corn anatomy and measure the corn and stuff. And so it's like, you know, people had already planted, so the corn was sprouting. So me and Alexa go to Ronnie's sister's house, to Tina's, to do our corn data collection, and it's sprouted off the ground, you know. So we're like out there with our little tape measure, trying to measure, you know, measure from stem to stem, and what are the tassels, and all this stuff. Like literally, it was so hot. It was just so hot that day when we're out there, and like Alexa's on the ground, like really measuring, and then, you know, later on to find out that it wasn't even time to be doing that stuff. You know, it wasn't at the stage that it needed to be. But you know, we didn't know, you know, so we're like, oh, we're like, no, you have to wait, you know, it's not even ready yet for you guys to even be making those measurements. But I just, every time, you know, like to talk, I always remember that, because I'm like, we were legit, you know, we had pictures of ourselves, like, really trying to measure these little British plants. But, you know, just that is just some of the good, fun stuff that, you know, we still are able to share and talk about. But thank you.
We probably have about 20 minutes on get your appetite ready for lasagna. And I thought maybe it might be nice if looking at the computer, that some folks don't have Facebook. And Kia thought maybe she could pull up Facebook and show Natalie the power of social media with our project. My daughter's back there with another camera, Gina, in charge of communications with Pawnee Nation. And she's also on our Facebook site, and we have Kahita and different ones that post things. So we try to keep Facebook working like a diary. We post the current pictures on there all the time. I know I purposely, for my personal Facebook, I always post when the dandelions bloom. Because that's the signal for the Nebraskans. You got 22 days, guys, to catch up. And, it's really, I can't tell you how much I appreciate setting up the Facebook and keeping it going. We did set up a Facebook account way back when we started to build the Earth Watch. And that was in 2010. Ronnie and I have one of our sayings is you never know where the seeds are going to lead you. And then plus with the ideas that we have between us, it's like, oh my goodness. But with having a garden, it just didn't seem right to have a garden unless there was an Earth Lodge next to it. So we keep that dream going. We're so happy with that Earth Lodge. I think it was Plan C that we ended up with. As Ronnie and I spent about 3 years fundraising for that. And I like how I can just say Ronnie and I, just throw my name in there. But basically it was Ronnie. And we would go all over this, different places to try to get people up to money. It turned out to be a very bad time to do that. The nonprofits were pulling back and giving, and there was a recession of sorts going on. And so instead of going, we gave our 300,000, half. And there's no pouting. But actually, I should have jumped up and down because that's a lot. And so, Plan A was to have people from that built the Chicago Field Museum, their family that did that, they were willing to do that again and harvest timbers between the Mississippi and Missouri River, how they did for Chicago, and then go over to Pawnee. Yeah, they were going to do the whole thing, and it was going to be made up kind of like how they did at the Archway. They were building sod houses. And again, it's like one of the ones I guess I know it was. Because she has this beautiful story about a sod house family. And, so of course then the premises had to have sod house. Well, when they built that, they came up with this great formula to combine dirt with concrete-like materials. And so when the sod house was built, then yes, it was solid, it wasn't going to deteriorate, it had the look and feel of the sod house. And that's how we were going to build the Earth Lodge. There was going to be that, a permanent structure outside. And the Chicago Field Museum's Earth Lodge. Raise your hand, how many's been to the Chicago Field Museum? I gotta put my hand down. Oh gosh, you guys are so lucky. That building was built in that way. That the dirt isn't just dirt, to be buried in there, it's got all this other stuff in there. And it's permanent. Which is nice because then you move it and it'll all move without tumbling down. So, building the Earth Lodge was in Plan C. Okay, so A was that group. Plan B was utilizing some other people more localized in Nebraska. And Clancy ended up being, well, hey, let's call some relatives that built earth lodges, you know, and cheap ones too, in the budget. So yes, we called our relatives, and they, and I mean literally relatives. It's like my nephew's family. You know, it's like, I'm not that close family. That's all they do is build these earth blocks. All of them got big muscles. Okay, all right. So yeah, we consulted them, and they came up with a real nice plan, and started working with the Archway staff. And so we got the big, long, super long timbers in Wyoming, and that's the only kind of outsourcing we had to do. The rest of it was all cut, seasoned ahead of time. The city of Pawnee was awesome because they brought in their equipment and drilled holes, and helped with the foundation. And so then we got this crew together from down here, right? That's when the education department was working with this with Leah, short-term employment, learn something. And so we got a crew, 13 from down here, and maybe close to the same number from up in North Dakota.
There's 29 people altogether.
Okay, 29. And so these Rock, oh my gosh, we were paying them handsomely. I mean, after all, they even copped this attitude like, oh yeah, we're doing this for Chadistakas, and so yeah, we're gonna charge like crazy, a lot of money in our pockets. And these poor Pawnee guys, we got this crew together, they were all willing to get up there. We had nothing in their pockets. We had $300, and that was for all their emergencies, and then somebody ran over something, you know. I mean, they had to go out and get stuff right away, and they had no per diem. They were going to get paid minimum wage, you know, way after the fact that they worked up there. So Ronnie has this incredible family. Linda, the one that we have a platform, she was like there every day. And she has another sister named Tina. Tina raises chickens, and I mean, those chickens got raided. Those women, people from church, the volunteers, they have a beautiful volunteer networking card. It's like all these churches just have one color t-shirt they throw on. It represents about 10 churches. They'll all come together, work on different projects. Well, feeding our problems was an emergency. So they would fix these nice meals for them, and we discovered that Taylor Man has superpowers, and his superpower is he'll sit down on the bench, lay down, and be asleep within 1 minute. And just the power nap. He's a power nap. But yeah, the community fed our people, our folks. They didn't need to go to the movies. They didn't need to go to Walmart. They didn't do any of this stuff. But they were happy, and every morning the Red Cross would get together, they'd pray. They didn't leave that with them. And every night they'd get together, they'd talk in their language, they'd pray, and those Pawnees were all eyes, all ears, experiencing it all. And they learned so much from their relatives. It was real inspiring, and they got to, go to bed happy every night, and we really could have been these hotels or 10 to a hotel, not that. But it was pretty good. Anyway, So these are Rick Ross, they're candy, you could go out to eat, whatever, at first. And then they realize, our relatives are really pitiful, they're not, and I shouldn't use that word, because they humbled them to no end. And those guys came together like brothers, they were so close after that, these fires, after that. And even one of the Rick Ross building that all he was given, to our project down here. And they all pledged, when you guys are ready to build your earth lodge, just put that roof over our heads and beat us. And we'll be there. So that day's still coming down the road. So social media, can you believe that? That's what I was starting to talk about. Yes. Here's the tangent. We have a page called Earth Lodge Movement. And so all the Rick Ross are still tied to it, and our builders are still tied to it. It's been kind of like my garden. It's laying fallow, and then I have some top secrets. Oh yeah, I wish people would tell me their secrets. But let me just say that it won't be fallow for long, okay? All right. Somebody? Glad I'm not here. Okay, so, it's nice that it's not going to be here. Plan A, we did Chicago. Plan B, we did Clark. Plan C, what else in the Plan C? We will build one here in Pawnee sometime. I know the Pawnee Nation College wanted to build this hillside. This used to just be a hillside before we built this building over here. And, the college said, let's build a bunch of earth lodges and that would be dormitories. And I love that idea. You go into the earth lodge, it looks like an earth lodge, it feels like an earth lodge, and then there's hidden doors where they go into their little dorm rooms and there's a bed, a desk, a refrigerator, bathroom. Hey, did you guys ever find out, Matt, how did the towns build outhouses? Well, I should probably read it. See, even our historian back here, that's always been a mystery to me, earth lodges and outhouses. Anyway, so we have social media. And we hope to get the earth lodge movement going again. But this one is Pawnee Sea Preservation Project. And if you haven't been on this seed project page, and you get to visit it for the first time, a recommendation is to scroll all the way down to the bottom page, and plan to take some time to do that because there's a lot to scroll through. And when you get to the bottom of the page, it's like reading those emails, where you can't give up that email and you drag it along for new information. You have to read the very bottom to see who said what and what's all transpired. Well, that's kind of like this. And so there's real interesting stories there. You'll see where we pondered labeling seeds extinct, what seeds they were, and then later you'll see where Dr. Hoekemeyer, he was teaching at University of Lincoln, and how one of his students had brought in some seeds. Oh gosh, actually, you know what? Those were what we call the night chief corn. Do you remember that, Matt? When the chiefs called, that might have been before you. We had the striker corn, it was called the night chief corn. It was John White night chief. And we thought he was being mad scientist 40 years ago. It's probably 50 years now. And so because we've never seen that kind of corn Facebook, it shows where a student had brought in some corn that her family had excavated, and 6 feet under the sand, they found a buffalo skull, and the skull rattled, and so some of the critters filled it with seeds, and it was that night chief corn. So at the next chief meeting, they said, well, don't call it night chief corn anymore, just call it striper corn. So that's how the night chief corn lost the name. Okay, so the buffalo hadn't even been in that area since 1863. That was the last time they were around there. And so it's really cool that not only did they bring back this corn, but it was viable. You know, it actually sprouted. And that's what has always inspired me too, is how this corn is viable, even though it's been a while. As you know, when they did work in the Southwest and they ran across and saw some groins and they found these clay pots and they opened them up, they found corn, and no telling how ancient that corn was, and it was viable. You know, so there's a lot to say about that. But yeah, take some time to scroll through there. I had actually, because I have 0 time and students always want me to write their papers for them, I'll tell them this bit of information, you know, scroll through there, write that paper, and if he can't write from there, then I'm not doing a good job posting. And there's been a lot of papers produced. I think I even told John Michael that, you know, post everything when you're doing your internship, and he was the first one that would scroll to do his paper once he got back to school, right? He did one. So that you know, it's cool. It's nice how we can use our social media. So it's a great education tool, and anyway, okay, so I've taken enough of time, and what I really like is to officially open up our noonday program. Is it close to noon now? Oh, nice, man, I rambled just enough. So to officially open up our program, you know, we always start with a prayer, huh? Okay, we're going to do a different song. All right, thank you.
Memorias del pasado que dejaré cuando me vaya, que dejaré en esta tierra, que hará mi corazón. No venimos en vano a vivir en este mundo, a menos dejemos flores, a menos dejemos canto y Catlerillasqui, a mi planite yo te digo, Catwilar Catlalilpa, que ni quichue no yolotzi, hace voto palitiguala, que ni disipe pones Tlalilpa, Ines gajoto tiu soshime, Ines gajoto tiu quicame. This is a song that was inherited to us, and it speaks about the importance of transcending in this life by at least living in this earth some songs and some flowers. Thank you very much.
her mom sitting way back. This is her mom that adopted her when she got here. That's Alexis, our assistant teacher, that's Donna Hare. And Donna is also serving our business council. So next up, we have Kahita Bernansky. And she's going to be doing our annual report.
And I've been an intern for the SEED project for the last 2 years. And since December, I'm a Miracle Vista, so we've been here for a whole year, back in the corner working on seeds and helping Deb with the engineers at lunch. And so I put together a little report about everything that happened last year with the seed project. So here's a little look at the gardens we had last year that we documented from. You can see we have all different sizes of gardens. And the biggest one being in Pleasantville, Nebraska, which was 2 acres last year. And it was a blue flower farm. But most of the other ones are small backyard gardens, different varieties. And you can see the different yields we got this year. About 35 bushels that were useful from the 2 acres, which is pretty awesome. And the other ones just got several hundred liters. Most of them will be used for food, that you'll see later. But a lot of good seeds came out that we get to use to plant this year in future years.
Is that from all the garden?
That's just from the gardens that we documented from. There were a handful of other gardens that we didn't document from because they weren't from the types of corn that we wanted to document from.
All right, either way.
So here's a couple of pictures of the gardens that we have. You can see the 2-acre garden at left-hand corner, and the other backyard gardens that we have. You can see we didn't tell them how to plant the corn. They're all really good gardeners and farmers. But we would suggest the traditional way that the Pawnee grew, which was in mounds, about 5 seeds in each mound. You can see selling to guard wise, with sunflowers around it to protect the plant. And it's really cool to see that. But we did really good results either way, really, in mounds. So a quick review of the growing season in Nebraska that we had. Nebraska actually had a late frost, which caused a lot of the gardeners to replant in June, which is pretty late to be planting corn. So we were worried about that and made the harvest a little late. It was also a very wet season last year, lots of rain, lots of storms, which caused a lot of the kernels to start germinating early, like while they were still on the air, as you can see in this picture. There's already roots and sprouts coming out of that air, which isn't useful. It's pretty cool to see, but you can't use that. There was also these Japanese beetles that we noticed my first year here as an intern, which was only in Omaha, but they like to eat everything, and there's hundreds of them that just attack a single plant. And we noticed it last year at Hastings as well, which means these bugs are moving further west, which means we have more gardens west, and it's not good, so we're going to watch those bugs to make sure they don't eat their crops up.
How do you control the weeds?
There is no way that we come. Yeah, we planted some other plants to the that smell sweeter and taste sweeter. That kind of worked, but they still just come more and more every year. So we got to figure out how to take care of those Japanese beetles, along with the other problems that corn usually has, your worms and bugs that like to get worm. But yeah, you can see other storms that were pretty strong this year, the winds that flew over whole crops. Luckily that happens late in the season, so they get ready ground. But there were some gardens that got pretty good. Luckily this corn is strong. After storms, it just stands right back up and keeps growing, which is pretty cool. There's other varieties that will do that. Yeah, so this last year there was enough corn to be used as food, which we the seed project hasn't got to do that much. So not many people have been able to taste the blue corn until this last year, but there was enough that we got to grind it down and make it into flour and use it for like blue corn mush that has been served at several different ceremonies and projects, things that happened last year. People got to taste our blue corn mush made from real blue corn that we grew. And eagle corn, there was enough to use a handful of different Pawnee ceremonies and functions this year. It was picked and grilled at the moment stage. It's pretty cool. And we have enough blue corn flour to sell this last year. So there's whole bags of flour around here, it's $15, which is still for sale. There's still less left, if anybody's interested. And these are some of the other crops that were grown for the seed project last year, which we got to use as food as well. There was tons of morphin squash grown last year, which Deb, every Friday and Saturday, she's in here cutting up and preparing to feed at different functions. Like at least once a week, she feeds it to the elders here for meals. Different things she tries, pancakes, mush, just cutting it up and adding it to soup. So it's been fun playing with that. And spotted like horse beans. We had a lot of that grown last year. I got to cut down and serve in soups. Here we made tamales for the elders' Christmas dinner. That was pretty fun using that. And the herb sunflowers, which were planted around one of the gardens in Hastings to protect the corn. There's so much of it. Ronnie had helped picking those sunflowers and brought them down and all these bags back here. And Deb has roasted them. We'd like to put them out to feed people, which we have some out to sample for everyone. We also saved each one of these seeds, a handful to plant next year, in future years. And the most important thing about this is saving handfuls of these seeds that look the best from the best ears to plant for the future. And last year, we got to strengthen 3 varieties, the blue corn, eagle corn, and white flower corn. And they're almost to a pure state now, especially the blue corn. It's looking how we want it to look. And strengthened 2 other varieties, the red flower corn and the blue speckled corn. We had several gardeners for that purpose this year. And we are bringing back one variety which was non-existent for over 100 years. So it's really cool seeing that this year. And that is the white sweet corn. You can see some of the kernels right here. Yeah, we've been seeing that in several varieties. First in the mother corn, the white flower corn, and we picked those out of there and grew those handfuls of kernels. And now we have 1,300 seeds, which is pretty awesome to plant this year. And hopefully get this variety back stronger and have more years of it. Okay, so here's what I usually do is data. Looking at the characteristics of each of the varieties of corn. And what we do is we look at this book called Corn on the Indians of Upper Missouri by Will and Hyde. There were these scientists over 100 years ago that looked at the corn. One of them was from the Pawnee corn. They looked at about 9 varieties. And they described it very scientifically. And they have a couple pictures that we get to look at from that book to compare our corn now to how it was over 100 years ago. And that's what we're using to try to get back to that corn, how it was 100 years ago, how it was in a pure state and was strong. And every year with this data, we're able to compare and pick out the best seeds. And it's cutting years and years of just throwing seeds out. We didn't know what to look for, but with this book, we pick the best, compare it, and now we'll have stronger seeds hopefully in a couple of years instead of 10 years. And here is some of the events that happened last year for the seed project. As you can see, the seed project was busy all the year, the spring all the way to the winter. There were several symposiums.
Can you read just what they are? I can't see it from here.
Sure. birthday last year, every year on birthday, there's a seed blessing where they hand out the seeds and give it to the gardeners, and Ronnie comes down and gets the blessed seeds and takes it up to the gardeners in Nebraska. And that's really when events start happening. A big event happened last year was the honoring of Nebraska's first farmers in Hastings at Central Community College, where Ronnie works and helped it on. It was a really cool event where lots of people came out from the community to see what happened with the seed project and talk about different farming techniques, things that happened in Nebraska from the seed project. May, there was a steam engine show where they got to take all the blue flower corn that was still in kernels and use the steam engines that were going at the show and grind down the kernel into flour, and that's what they used to sew all last year. It was pretty cool. It helped Debbie a lot in getting that done quickly and efficiently. What else? Internship. Last year I got to go up to Nebraska again all summer and stay in the Central Community dorms, which we did the year before too. This year was just me. Luckily there wasn't as many gardens, only about 10 gardens this year to go to. And Sonny was another intern this year that helped mostly here in Pawnee, help the gardens, and he would come up every couple weeks to help with the gardens up there too. That's pretty cool. Again, we were selling the corn all year. A big group went up to help harvest the blue corn in September when it was ready to harvest. So there's like 20 to 30 people that came up from Pawnee to help harvest all that corn, which was pretty cool. Several members of the SAFE project and the community got to go to a third annual conference on Native American nutrition in October, which is cool to see. They still have the presentations up online. I know Electa was part of that, and Nikai, Deb. There's really cool presentations to look at that are on the Facebook as well as on the conference's website. And in October, another big event was a group of people involved with the Seed Project got to go to Mexico and be a part of the symposium they have down there, which we'll talk about later. Tons of pictures to show you guys. And that was the last big event last year. We have a lot to look forward to this year. And some of the pictures highlighting those events from last year. You see there's tons of people that get involved with the Seed Project, people in the community, and up in Nebraska, people are always wanting to know how they can get involved, how they can help. And down here, we definitely need more help from the actual Pawnees to work with this Pawnee farm. As you can see, there's tons of ears back there to work on still. And we always need more gardens, more people working in the gardens. But there's a lot to look forward to in the future. Again, we need more gardeners, more Pawnees to help this project. Hopefully we can get more of these corns back to their original spring. We're starting like right now, spring is next month. We're already starting our seeds, picking out the first ones right now. So if anyone's interested, just come on by and help out. Thank you. If anybody wants any of this information, I push it out. It's so this report, I know it went by fast, but there's a lot of cool stuff in here. A lot of cool stuff to look forward to.
And no one up there, Dell, the family, none of his relatives knew that the grandfather was partaking of that holy sacrament, that medicine, the peyote. But they knew he would leave for days, on end, sometimes weekends, sometimes weeks, and then he would come back. Well, when he became deathly ill, he wanted to be taken back to that medicine. And so, of course, people that don't practice that way, they don't understand why he wanted to go. And they didn't take him, and he passed on, which, but it left Dell thinking like, if my grandfather had this connection that we didn't know about to these Pawnee, let me look further back and see what else we have as a connection to the Pawnee people. So he did some research and he noticed that back when his family first settled up there around Pleasantdale, Nebraska, they wouldn't have made it without the help of the Pawnee people. So through a vision that Dale had in his prayers, he was told to give this section of land back to our people to grow this blue corn. So, you know, that's how far back our corn goes up there to Nebraska. You know, it goes further than that. But I just want you to know the connection that Dale Fike has from Pleasantdale down here. And it's truly a holistic connection with Dale. He has no ulterior motive. He has a lot of respect, you know, for our corn. He's a non-invasive, minimal impact cropper. One of the best in the United States at what he does. He's sought after by many universities, many organizations, co-ops, because they want to find out what his secret is that he can do all these types of cropping, cover crops, organic, you know, and then like kind of rotating these. He also has Graze Master beef, which is a very nice high-end unaltered beef. So he does all these things, and he doesn't share all the, kind of like Colonel Sanders. He has his recipe hidden in a vault somewhere, but everyone wants it. And he's willing to give that to us as Pawnee people. And always open armed welcomes us back up there. So, you know, I think it'd be something that is really beneficial for us to realize that in Nebraska, they're very open armed, you know, to invite us back. There's a lot of opportunities. So we have Natalie here. Thank you for coming down. Ronnie, you all have done some really great things. You know, Ronnie, I know you do a lot for, you know, to work next to my auntie and always involving us in whatever we can be a part of back there. And that's part of that welcoming home. When we go back there, a lot of us feel like we have that sense of connection because I believe that the prayers of our ancestors and the spirits, they walked down to Oklahoma and the footprints are already there so we can go back. All we have to do is maybe take that prayer a little bit further and not be afraid, you know, to venture out, because right here in our Pawnee nation of Oklahoma, to me, this is, and this is my own opinion, to me this was a place where we were designed, and this is a concentration camp. And this is a hard place for us to thrive as a people. As we see roadblocks, we see all kinds of things of our families, our relatives suffering. And maybe it's in that prayer where we were only meant to come down here for a short period of time to learn something. We learned a lot of things about our elements as we walked from Nebraska to Oklahoma. You know, we thought about how it was to be humble, pitiful people as we came down. We learned what it was like to be thirsty, because on that walk we had to do without water. We learned what it was like to be hungry. So we realized that we have to take care of our crops. We need to utilize our resources. And then at times, you know, it got cold, so we learned about that fire to stay warm. All those elements brought us down here for a certain amount of time. But this is not where Atias, the Waha, put us. You know, our Chawee, one of our Chawee chiefs, Matt Reed, he showed us up there where we were put. And I got to witness that with my eyes. And I encourage everyone to take that almost like a pilgrimage. Take that drive. Take it slow. Look around. You might see something that maybe our ancestors put somewhere for us that maybe no one's altered yet. Because I believe in those prayers that we're in a time where now action has to come. And Aunt Deb has done a great job at leading this action for our life. Our livelihood, because sustainable food is not just an idea, it's a necessity. It's a necessity because without that sustainable food, no one is going to be accountable to us based on history. No one has been accountable for us for upholding any truth to anything. So I just ask, through my prayer, that maybe we can look further beyond this, and go back to slowly maybe try to integrate our leaders to look at this opportunity to shift back, because I'll tell you, I'm willing to go back. I'm willing to figure it out. I don't have a plan. But sometimes that's the most real thing, is doing something and just knowing that it's bigger than you and you don't have to know what it is. Maybe it's just us coming together, because I look in here and I see this is a great turnout, better than last time. I love seeing you ladies, because I know you're going to tell me what you believe. And I like that. I don't get offended, because I'm growing and learning. And I want you ladies to tell me, I agree with you on this, I don't agree with you on this. And it's okay, because I'm far enough in my spiritual being to understand that I still have room to grow. And these ladies I have a lot of respect for. And I'm thankful for you all being here, because it gives me strength. And it makes me really nervous. And I try to do the best I can to be honest in what I say, because I truly care about our people. I truly do. I don't need any money. I volunteer a lot, and I don't let anybody know even what I do, because I just want to see it happen out here on this earth. And when it happens, I just smile, because maybe I had a small part way back here that helped it come true. And that's enough for me, because I believe in those ways of our leaders, of the Saudi people. And I'm working, maybe one day that's in my line of wherever it is I'm supposed to be in this idea of progressive Pawnee people. And I've already spoken to my kick hockey, Nasado, about that transition months and months ago, about maybe going back up to Nebraska, even if it is as the kick hockey people. Because maybe the CBD are okay with it. Maybe the Chawi are okay with it. Maybe the Pita-Hawi are okay. I don't know, and I don't want the vision. But maybe it's going to take a certain person to say, I'm willing to do this and sacrifice. And I feel like my health is okay. I don't need any medical. I have not used a hospital in 27 years. I don't plan on it. So I'm not really a liability, I don't think. So, it would be really nice if we could start to look at those things. If we measured out our lands here and we used them as some sort of collateral to build a development there that has been untainted with the history and trauma that's within these buildings. I believe the spirits stay here. They're always here, and that's just my belief, from what I've learned. And I think that in a new setting, a new beginning, we might have an opportunity to be what's best for each other. And that is our relatives, the one, Tadics are Pawnee people. So I'm really grateful, and I'm really caught off guard that Annette threw me up here, but I'm grateful for it, because she has faith in me. It makes me feel good, and like I said, not everyone might agree with what I have to say, but it's honest and it's true, and it's a sincere thought for our people to do something that's just maybe the next best thing. Because here we're in a reciprocating hope, and hope is good. And maybe that hope will take us back and go up north a lot and go up north. The Riggerall, they want us back. These farmers, these communities up there, they want us back. Even the Sioux want us back. And it's not a setup. But that should tell you something, because I've been learning a lot about these prophecies, and the Red Road runs north and south. And eventually it says that the north is going to come, we're going to learn from the north down to the south. But the south is going to come back from the south up to the north. And it kind of plays out how we came down from the north. But the Lakota people stood there, stayed there. And our Riggerah people stayed there. And that south is going to come down to teach us, or open their arms to us, or welcome us. And then all we have to do is follow that prophecy and make our way back up. So, there's more that I have, and I don't want to take too much time, but if anybody would like to talk about, anything like that, there's more that I have. I just get really nervous with the microphone and the cameras. So, I would like to thank you all for allowing me to say a few things here. I don't believe I'm anybody yet. I'm in training, I guess, to do the best I can and be accountable for myself. I only have 4 years sobriety. We stand together. The closer we stand together, the warmer we are and the cold. And if I have a spoon and I can feed you because you don't have the arms, I'll do it. Or I'll fan you off just because it might give you a little bit of comfort. These are the things I learned in ceremony. Maybe this elder next to me is harder than me, so I'll fan them off. And that's how I want to live my life, is the best I can, in a true way. I made mistakes, and I'm willing to be accountable, held accountable, and looked at for those mistakes, and I'll continue to make more mistakes. But I only want to sink one boat. If it's going to go down, I only want one boat to sink, and I want it to be me in it, not a ship with all of our people on it. So I truly pray about this and think about how we can do this to be sustainable. So I thank you all for this time, and I would like to introduce Natalie, who's here from Nebraska. Sorry for crying.
Dear friends, it is such an honor to be here today, and Bobby and Pawnee, we need you and want you back in Nebraska. I'm here today to do what I can. I'm a person that's a farm kid, 4-H'er, grew up on a farm, and I worked in the United Nations for 38 years, mostly in Africa. And what's interesting to me is there's so many similarities between you and the Pawnee and farming and women in agriculture. Let me tell you a few examples. I was working with an international research institute, and we were bringing in all of these crops from the West. Better soybeans, better maize, all of these crops. And then when we did the research, we found that among the Igbo women in eastern Nigeria had hundreds of crops in a compound. People from the West didn't know about it. They were nutritionally rich. They were not easy to grow. When a child was sick or a woman was pregnant, they knew what crops to give. So with that inspiration, I started looking at indigenous cropping. And I came back after nearly 40 years, 20 years in New York, and I decided it's time to come home to Nebraska. I'm a farm kid. I don't belong in New York. I belong in Nebraska. So when I looked at what our farm was making, I said, this is nonsense. This doesn't work. We couldn't even break even on our corn prices this last year. There are thousands of crops throughout the world that nobody knows about. Let me give you a few examples. I brought teff in from Ethiopia to test Alan Scott's crop, and also the FFA in my little high school of only 300 people in the community. Teff has the highest iron content of any crop in the world. So in Ethiopia, there's no iron deficiency among the women. It's a beautiful, tiny little seed, and they make injera, they make bread from it. Now, teff is just one of many examples. And why is teff important for Nebraska? Well, because there's thousands and thousands of Ethiopians that live in America, in Minneapolis and Washington. But more important than that, we need to not only know about teff, but a lot of other potential crops worldwide that we can grow. Your project on seed preservation is so powerful. It is so powerful. You have the expertise. You have a treasure in front of you. People need to know about it, but I want you to protect it. I want you to be careful about who's using it, as you already are. It is a good thing. It is truly a gift. And I admire you so much. Today when I went over to the college and I saw what this kid has done, Mr. Kimmery, just since April of last year, having all of these agricultural courses. This is
a revolution, what they're offering, not only young people, but older people to come and to study. You are making a difference in your lives, and you can make a difference to so many other people. What does it mean to just have one crop that becomes successful? Let's look at the last 50 years internationally. The kiwi of New Zealand, the pineapple of Hawaii, asparagus in Guatemala. People didn't used to know about these crops. Suddenly just one crop is discovered. I mean, who in America 10 years ago was eating kale? Couldn't eat kale. Suddenly it's a fashionable, it's a good crop to grow now. Brazilians have been eating kale for centuries. Yours is a powerful expression. You are people of innovation. And when I think of people in Nebraska that I love so much, Ronnie O'Brien comes to mind. Among the Pawnee, the privilege that I have had of working with Deb. Now, they're volunteers. You know, Ronnie has a full-time, she teaches 6 courses, just 6 courses, you know, between college. But she has such a passion. And what she did for Nebraska, with Deb and with all of you, the first meeting ever in Nebraska on Nebraska's first farmers, that was all of you. That was all of your ancestors. 400 people came to that meeting in Hastings. Now, no other Native American group in Nebraska, including the Nebraska Indian Commission, had ever talked about traditional Indian cropping. You did. That was a huge impact. There was good publicity. Those are the kinds of meetings that I would like that you would continue. I guess the question is now also, where do we go from here? And let me give you a few examples of my own family because they were frustrated farmers. And my uncle used to have buffalo. He had bison. It was a hobby along the Platte River. But they started to do very well. He saw what he could get from the bison was so much more than what he could get from our corn or our soybeans or alfalfa. So his 2 sons now have bison ranches. And they're doing very well. They just rent out their farmland and they just have bison. I want you to come and visit because he's an entrepreneur. It's not a researcher. The university didn't give him any help. He saw the value and the beauty of the bison. Another cousin, and I have to show you this booklet because when I learn more about you, I find that he used to go around to the Platte River and collect grasses because he knew that he had to rotate with the crops. So he did this book, Grasslands, with his copies among you, and I'll send more if you would like. And again, you know, the university didn't help him. He went out and collected hundreds and hundreds of grasses and then compiled this book, Grassland. And he would use it as a crop rotation. And he also worked, I believe it was the Ponca tribe. This was many, many years ago. But again, I go back to the question of where do we go from here and what do you want to do? I can't make that decision, but I can help you. I had a great opportunity of raising funds for the United Nations and working with Ted Turner. And living in Nigeria, Malawi, Ethiopia, I have 6 African children that I adopted, whose parents died of AIDS. Their siblings, my youngest son is coming with his family in August, and I can't wait to have you meet them, because of course we're the only Africans in our community of 3,000. But they're smart, wonderful people, and I learned so much from them, from being in Africa, as I'm learning from you. Where does the future lead? It's your decision. I'm in a position where I believe politically I can help, economically I can help. I work closely with Ted Turner, who gave the United Nations a lot of money, and I think there's interest out there, but interest that has to be really activated by the Pawnee, not by anybody else, because you're the authentic You're the people with this expertise and knowledge, and it's your ancestors who gave so much to our country. My dream is consideration of the Pawnee being a recognized tribe in Nebraska. That just seems so basic to me. And the second point being, you know, you need to own the crops. We need the intellectual property. You need to say, this is my crop. Cargill, Monsanto, you know, this is our crop. Now, there's got to be lawyers out there who can help you. But that is so extraordinary. The third point is, having seen so much malnourishment, so much tragedy in Africa, but knowing, as we found among the Igbos and Chichewa and Malawi, that some tribes were much better off because they had indigenous knowledge of their very, very own crops. But we need DNA testing. We need to know the nutritional value of each of the crops. So, I just want to say what an honor it has been for me today. I want you to come to Nebraska. I want you to know that Ronnie and I are there to assist you however we can. I want you to visit our family bison farm. I collected African art all my life and had a great home of African art, and I started an African museum at the South Sudanese because we have more people from South Sudan in Nebraska than any other state. But I want you to hold on to your treasure very, very tight. And I want it to enrich your lives. And nothing would please us more than having you come back to Nebraska. And I end, as you always begin, with just a wonderful poem that I found, which is Pawnee, I'm told. They didn't know the author, but I thought it just gave us really the spirit that we need. And it goes like this. O eagle, come with wings outspread in sunny skies. O eagle, come, bring us peace, thy gentle peace. O eagle, come and give new life to us who pray. Remember the circle of the sky, the stars and the brown eagle, the great life of the sun. Young within the nest, remember the sacredness of these things. Thank you for the honor and opportunity to be here.
I just had a wonderful day today. I want to thank Deb and for inviting the council to come, and I want to express that we've heard from the majority of the council that why they couldn't be here. One was at a funeral, others preparing for a Native American church meeting, and you know our president fell and broke some ribs, and so he's still recuperating. I'm still recuperating from surgery. So, but it was just wonderful to be here today, hearing these stories from Mikai, John Michael, Sonny, and as I met Natalie today, I had to share with her that, you know, and what my mother had said, Carol, it was like a resurgence in John Michael, going to Nebraska, and what he did, and it brought out his research mind and started doing his own research, and it kind of made me realize too, as a young mother, you know, we grew up here in Pawnee, went to the dunes and things like that, but we never really did sit down with our kids and say, this is why we do this thing. You know, my grandparents didn't do that. They did to an extent and took us to those things, but really to explain those, I remember sitting with my great-grandma, Mary Lee Della, on the sofa as she watched her stories, as she called them, the soap operas. You know, but we never really talked about, you know, what happened. And it wasn't until after her passing that we found a little booklet that she had writings talking about the bison, the buffalo in Nebraska as a little girl, and had just a little story, you know. And so we get so busy in our own lives trying to, you know, get a career, trying to put food on the table and take care of our children, that we sometimes lose sight of our culture and our heritage and trying to pass it on. And we do the best we can, you know, with our culture and our ways here. And so what I've learned as a tribal leader is that, you know, here in Mikai's story, hearing Bobby's story. I have my own son, Dennis Nightchief, who has his own story dealing with addictions, and how the culture and who you are brought them back and give them life, back their life away from that. And that's what I've heard. That's the story that resonated with me today, is that we need that resurgence, we need that revitalization. We as leaders need to be more involved in that, and making sure that our people and our children and know that. So that's what I learned today. So you all taught me today, so I appreciate that. I appreciate Ronnie O'Brien and all the work that her and her other farmers up there in Nebraska. You know, we may not say it enough, but we truly appreciate it. Deb, she's just a gem, you know, and we just appreciate everything that she's done. You know, because it's important, you know, and she don't get paid for it. She just does it because that's her commitment to this project. And you know, we don't always acknowledge that, but I want to acknowledge it today. Everybody that's here that took time out of their day to be here on this cold day, I appreciate it. It's a good turnout to see you all here. I appreciate everything, all your families. I pray that each of your families will be blessed, and that you know that you have health and wealth within your families at home, and as you go back, that your homes will be even better than you left them today. And that's my prayer, you know, for all of our tribal members. But I just been blessed today. Natalie, thank you for coming down. I look, you know, to where we're going to be in Nebraska to help foster that as well. So just Dr. Jickstead.
So it's great to see everybody here today, and I want to echo what Angela said about being thankful to Deb and her commitment to this project and all that she has done to Ronnie, and how long she has been involved, and how much she cares about our people and our corn and plants. And then Natalie, just meeting her and helping do Pawnee, and I'm really grateful to everybody who has been bitten by the bug, because you guys have been bitten by the bug. You know, it's just in you, and it's something that you're carrying, and it's something that's so good. You know, it's good for you, it's good for us, it's good for everybody, you know, what we're doing. And it's culture is being touched on. Several people touched on that, how it's culture, you know, that these plants and these seeds, you know, are bringing to us when it's all coming together. And you do feel something in the grass, where you do feel that spirituality, just the way the rivers, you know, how they go through the grass, and it's just something, it's just a really great experience. So it's really nice to be welcomed back there too by people the way that they did at Pawnee. We were welcomed to Pawnee back. We went, and it's been 2 years now? It's been close to that. But when we drove into town, they had a news radio station, and they were talking about how the Pawnees had left, 100 years ago, and how they were welcoming us back. And my hairs on my arms just stood up, because it was such a great feeling, how they were welcoming us back, and we were like, dang, wish the people in Pawnee, Oklahoma felt this way about us, because we just really felt that connection there. But I just want to thank you guys for everything that you do. I'm really glad to see Jessica here from council and everybody along with the others that are with the Seed Project. I know that they had a really good summer when they were up there, and I'm just really hopeful for all the work that she's going to do, as she continues with her education and her career, as well as all of us, keepers and everybody gets involved in this project. So thank you everybody for coming out, and thank you Deb, and thank you everybody else that's involved in the project for
I have to say something, and I apologize if this is something I shouldn't be talking about. But now it's your fault. When we read the poem about the eagle, I knew I had to get up here. And I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that. But I'm also working on my master's degree. And this project is not very good. My capstone will probably be based on this project. So I think it's something big. And Matt, I'm sorry, I'm sure you snoozed me for a month, because what your comment to me, people are talking about religion. I have to post right now for my degree, because my degree is in theology. And the paper that I'm hoping to write this semester is based upon Pawnee parent. And again, I apologize if this is something I shouldn't do, but it's something that I need to do for myself. And in doing it, the course that I'm taking says that Atius, or God, begins with a symbol. He reveals a symbol to you, and then as you grow from that symbol, you see the revelations. You begin to understand what the symbol meant through time, but it takes time to understand the symbol. And so I was looking at corn and thinking what I could do, and I was looking at eagle corn, and I thought, well, let me look at the symbol of eagle without having to ask someone who's Pawnee and ask something I shouldn't be asking. So I looked up the symbol of the eagle and what it means in two different cultures, and some of the things I read, I just very briefly, the first thing I read just struck me so much was that the eagle flies high so it has the chance to receive messages. It's the highest flying bird, and therefore is believed to receive messages from God, from Titus. And it struck me that the very first corn we worked with was eagle corn. And then I talked to a corn specialist, Stephen Smith, who right now has collected 1,900 different varieties of corn in the United States. He has more varieties of corn than any other person in the United States. And he respects the Pawnee corn. He doesn't know me. And he's just been studying it forever. And we started talking about eagle corn because really, honestly, eagle corn is the envy of every child in the United States. I don't know if you know. And every seed saver, everybody out there wants eagle corn because it's so incredible and it has eagles on it. I mean, how could that possibly, how could corn do that? So when I talked to him, and we were talking about it, he said, well, I'm sure all of the varieties of corn that you grow will throw a whole ear of odd color. So he said eagle corn, for instance, it's purple and white. It will throw an ear that's completely solid white, or it might throw an ear that's completely solid purple. He said all the varieties do this, and I said, eagle corn doesn't do that. And he said, well, sure it does. I said, no, eagle corn does not do that. It's the only variety I have ever seen that does not do that. Every single ear is exactly the same. It never does anything different. He said, well, that's not what corn is. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more I see that Atius is in the eagle corn for sure. The symbol, the sign, the revelation that God is in the corn is definitely in the eagle corn. And it's different from all of the others in my eyes because it doesn't do what corn does. It's much, and of course mother corn is the first and very sacred, but that's what I see, and I just want to share that with you because I want you to know just how incredibly miraculous and divine your corn is. And if God is there for anyone, if He is there for any people, He's looking upon you. Because No corn is unlike any other corn on the face of the earth, especially eagle corn. That expression.
That was the name of the Pawnee Nation. I come from the regiment line. And I'm just really happy. I won't take up too much time. And please forgive me if I say anything that affects the spiel. So I've been abundantly blessed by being a part of the project in that I've met each one of you. Already being Pawnee, that's our commonality, but then also having this growing connection to our corn has really meant a lot in my life. And touching on what Edith said earlier, it's definitely healed me in many ways and helped me understand that we are greater than our single self. So I really appreciate that. It's given me an opportunity to mentor and to learn what that is to be a mentor and to be mentored by some very wonderful people. My mother is Donna Reddy and my father is Charles Hare. I have 3 daughters and I live across the river now, but my heart is still here. I'll tell the chiefs that my heart is here. So I do whatever I can to support the project, and it's been a lot of fun. I was going to ask Nashado and Angela. I did an interview of you in the springtime, and I have a few quotes, and I was wondering if it's okay if I just share a little bit of what you shared with me. I just want to give permission before I did that. So I'm at school now at the University of Arkansas. I study policy. Sarah comes and sees me sometimes over at school. Dr. Strokanaichi. But I put myself out there in a position to learn. And it's hard to be away from home, but it's worth it whenever we can contribute to the common good. And I tried out and was appointed a natural resource research scholar. And one of my interns really gave me some really wonderful perspective on if we frame our corn as a resource, or then that could be taken away from us. So we have to be real careful about how we frame that to protect it for what it is to our people. But anyway, I did some interviews, and I'll just share a few sound bites from those interviews. The focus of the scholarship, the research, was decision-making factors in tribal leadership. And I know sometimes we have a lot to say about our leaders and what they're doing and what they're not doing. But it's hard to make those decisions. And so I think if we connect with them on that humanitarian level and that we're all Pawnee level, it'll take some of that rough stuff away that kind of creates divides. So I wouldn't necessarily want to tell our leaders what to do, but I did want to have discussions that maybe would influence policy on down the road. And so I interviewed 2 female business council members, 1 male Pawnee Nation president, 2 of our traditional Machado, and 1 of our female intern leaders was my test dummy. She got to hear the questions first. But anyway, we know what our land base is like down here in Oklahoma, and we know that we have around 3,200 tribal members. There's about 610 that live here on the reserve area, and our current tribal land base includes just under 1,700 acres right here. These are just things I found in the research. One of our leaders said, and this relates to your story, Ronnie, we have always heard about Pawnee relationships with the animals, with our spirit animals. Pawnees know how to take care of what Atias has given us. Our Indian ways, they're good ways, they're duahe. We have a wonderful relationship with nature. We have always had the responsibility of taking care of our environment and respecting the animals and the resources. I was really blown away by that quote because to me it came from someone who was open to our Pawnee ways of knowing, but also open to what has been kind of indoctrinated upon us, these different religions and everything. So it was really neat to hear them being open to knowing that that's the root of who we are as Pawnee people. And it influences their decision making. Ms. Angela, in every decision that comes before the council, it directly affects the health and wellness of the people. Any decision we make, whether it be economic or agricultural, health and wellness is what I look at as I make decisions. Indirectly, our decisions affect our people. And now, our people will affect our decisions. Nashado Matt, we are a lot more active with our land ownership and our jurisdiction. We know that fracking has done a lot of things that are detrimental to everyone, not just our Pawnee people.
We crossed Oklahoma from a recent trip to Nebraska homeland, and they had observed that farmers were selling well water for the purpose of fracking. So priorities are a little off there, but our understanding of our relationship to nature and the land, we might be able to right that ship. So we appreciate this. Part of our policies, just policy making as a people, it could include our cultural values, something we don't always do, but we hope and strive for. We could actively start to incorporate more of our cultural values into our policy making. We would first have to identify what those values are and start incorporating those into our policies and practices. 3 words that describe us as people are ceremony, language, and land. True sovereignty is our land, our culture, our language, and our ceremonies. No one can take them away from us unless we allow them. One of our law enforcement people, our Speedy Machado, his vision was seeing gardens, especially bison herd. He didn't know if that was to specifically feed just our people, but to create camps that teach our kids how to camp, how to hunt, garden, and process. That's the main way of life that we identify as Pawnee people. And he's really glad to see our efforts and really supports in what we do. And I'll close with this because I know our conversation will lead to, well, what will we do in Nebraska? Or what can we do? Well, we know that we have a lot of value in our natural resources, especially those we have in Nebraska. The Crane Trust, the Sandhill Cranes, preserves native, unplowed Nebraska prairie on the Platte River. We as Pawnee people who have the land at Annabar, how can we take an active role in our conservation? How can we protect our waters? How can we protect our land? If we really took control of our land ownership and our rights to the middle of those waters, we could do some really amazing things, and that would take collective effort. So just sitting and learning and interviewing with our leaders was really amazing, and then also turning and sitting and learning with the interns that are learning along the way has been so powerful, and I just appreciate growing in this area. So thank you.
I have 2 faces out in the audience, and they come bearing gifts. Ronnie, bless her heart, she's asked me time and time again, she wants to read this book. I kept telling her that it's on Kindle. There's a map in here, you get the Kindle download, you can blow it up, you have to refer to that map.
all over the margins.
Yeah, but, okay, so Ronnie, your wishes come true. Here you go. Thank you for coming down. It is a historical novel, and so finally you will learn about Nebraska. All right, so those that want to hang around and help do visuals and stuff, it doesn't look like our AD made it. And so he'll have to do some dishes, I'm sure. I just want to thank you, for all your time, and of course, now Natalie's here, and you can, please visit with her, and we didn't make any kind of agenda notes at this point, but here's a board. Okay, we went to Mexico, right? We have a Pawnee that lives up in Minnesota, right? For a couple of years, he's telling me, you gotta go down Mexico, gotta go down. Okay, we'll go down to Mexico. And then along comes one of our partners, OSU, and they couldn't really be here today because she's in New Mexico taking care of personal matters. But that was Patricia Reyes that actually pulled together a trip to Mexico. So if you ever want to try to be king as a boss, invite your whole staff to go to Mexico. I was able to, bring all my staff but one, And then there was 18 of us all together, 11 got to go. Tried like heck to get Jessica to go. But it was wonderful. Patricia pulled the strings to fund it, and we went down on Thanksgiving Day, which is great because I hate turkey. Unfortunately, they served it on the plane. But we got to meet precious people. And they got to tell us their farm stories. And how many gardeners did we meet with? There was probably well over 50 or so. And what was nice is Aaron up in Nebraska, he's a pipestone quarry person, and he actually has made pipes. He made one for our visitation for the river. Anyway, Aaron he's a really good cook. All his friends describe him as a stomach with arms and legs. And so he researches food all the time. Believe it or not, this Pawnee man has kids growing up who has never been to McDonald's, who have never had processed food. He is the man. He believes in our food. He's researched recipes for us. Jessica stole some of his recipes for a paper she was doing at Haskell. Because food sovereignty is big nowadays. I had no idea that it was like that. I had these little blinders on, just looking at Pawnee porn until Winona Ladue opened my eyes. And it was pretty cool to meet other people. And went to a conference there, wanted to be, I turned into an Amish wannabe person. Because that community is with the Amish. They get together, they put those schools together, they do what needs to be done together. I'm still working on that, how do you get togetherness? And so when Alexa became the assistant for the Seed Project, that's your job description. I did mine, you're going to deal with the next generation, do that recruitment and what have you, so. And I can't wait till she gets out of school. But it's been a real blessing working with the people in Mexico. What we found out, because like Farmerdale knows soil inside out, how to make it healthy. Has taught a lot to my nephew, Bobby, about that. And when we went down there, that was one of the things we found out. They've been growing corn so long. We're not talking hundreds, we're talking thousands and thousands of years. The teosinte is what was grass, slowly took on these kernels. They still grow teosinte, and that is a variety that is more wood-like than corn, and it produced kind of like kernels, what look like kernels, and then what we found out down there, because Rodney and I have been playing with, what is teosinte? Is this it? Is this that? Stephen, the one she talked about, he played with it. They said, you know what, because I asked them, I said, well, what's it taste like? And they said, well, we don't like it, it's like wood, it's hard, it's awful. But we grow it because it's a transition. There was grass, it turned into teosinte, which started growing up in the tassels. And like our acorn still grows corn up in the tassels. It has those ancient traits. But they said the teosinte changed. All that wood-like fibrous stuff, it turned into cobs. Yeah. and then the kernel-like stuff started producing milk. And you know, so, yeah, I mean, we have a lot to learn. They offered to, we went to UNL and asked about, you know, paying for our nutrition and all that. They were happy to do it for over 2,000 off. And when we looked at all our seats, it said, well, we need 13 pops. You know, we're not talking, you know, it was like, yeah, right. Talked to Angela. Okay. No, we didn't have money for testing. But, you know, down in Mexico, we met these fabulous people that Patricia Reyes and Monte put together to meet. You know, they had, I heard the expression, they had the honor cup, you know, they embraced us. They told us, whatever, you know, let's work on it, let's get together. So they gave us a list of things that they, you know, to-do list but one of the things they want to do is our data person here, the people, they would like to see more of her. They'll teach her how to do that testing. You know, so instead of working with Nebraska, we thought, well, oh, hey, let's move to Oaxaca. They'll do it for free. You know, so that's all our possible to do this. They also are willing to do a DNA historical map for us to show us how our map moved, how the corn moved, and but you know, we're so thankful. Monty's a blessing to us. You know, she's and also it was really nice going to Mexico because half the crew, Aaron included, spoke Spanish, and you know, so that made our visit really awesome. Especially when we came to barbering for souvenirs. But we are so grateful. We feel like we have met some really good friends down there. We have a lot of, they have their seed bank, okay, the state of Oaxaca has 13 districts, and they have seed banks in all these districts. I looked at one, we got to go see one of the districts seed bank, and I thought, man, I gotta see the state. No, but you know, it's at my house, and view that down the road is. If we don't do something soon, Angela, you'll read about me. That lady that met her demise under a mountain sea. But yeah, I mean, we're learning so much, and they're willing to work with us. Plus, those amazing pictures that we've been put together, having all those gardeners come and show them, you know, they're all eligible to take the seed and sell some seed and sell some of their produce, what have you, and you know, there's somebody that goes around and collects from all the gardeners when they have these gatherings and symposiums, so that seed bank always has seed in there, so if there's a drought or something, which there has been, and that's why the seed bank was created for this in the state of Oaxaca. But anyway, thank you, Monse, and we have elected to put a note on that